I'm live. Yay! Oh, this top is kind of funky. This is the beginning. This is behind the scenes. Okay, well, we are live, and I'm hoping that you can hear me okay, and that my snowball microphone is working. And it's just coming up on 6:30 in about a minute. And I had some people, I had a couple people email me and tell me that the links didn't work to the email that I sent out as a reminder. And I tested all the links and they all work on my end. And I tested them with a friend as well. So I don't know why. Hi, Marilyn. So nice to see you. Hi. Yeah, I'm back on Facebook, getting back on YouTube. Yeah. So I was just explaining that some people were having problems with the links, but so there seem to be working for some people and not for others. So I guess what I'll say is in the future, if you have a problem with the link, just come at 6:30 Mountain Time, 5:30 Pacific, whatever your time zone is, just come at that time and it should be showing up on my YouTube channel. It should be streaming. I believe it's at the top, and then you can just access from there. So yeah, this is actually the first time I've done this, so it's kind of exciting. I finally got together all the little bells and whistles to make it work, hopefully. And yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. So feel free to ask any questions or make any comments, share any experiences that you've had, whatever it might be, over in the chat section to, I guess when you're looking at your screen, to be to your right. And first, what I want to do is I wanted to talk for a little bit about what this is going to be about. So I took this idea actually from Mark James Gordon, who is a friend of mine and does some he has some fabulous videos and information on his website about detoxing. And he was doing a weekly live stream that became very popular, and I listened in on and participated in many times. And it was just a really supportive container for people. And he focused on deep detoxing. And what I would see is there'd be a lot of people that would come on that were new to detoxing and cleansing, who didn't even have a clean diet yet. And so I saw that, there's a need there for people. There seems to be a big gap between the people that are doing really deep detoxing and the standard American diet. And so I fill in that gap. So what I'm going to do is really focus on people who are really wanting to adopt a healthy eating lifestyle or a clean eating lifestyle and do cleansing and detoxing from there, so that when they're doing their cleansing and detoxing, they can go back to clean eating rather than back to the standard American diet. And for many people, I'm going to be talking about the food continuum and what I call the cleansing continuum as well. And, a lot of people just getting off the standard American diet, just doing a basic elimination diet is a cleanse for them. So it really depends on the person, their body, and what they're currently doing. So I wanted to cover the basics and the kind of the beginner people who are just getting into cleansing and who are really wanting to create and sustain a clean eating lifestyle. So what I did was I went on my website, which is kellyhayford.com, and I created a new section called, and it's up on the menu bar. And there I posted, there's 3 videos. They're about an hour and a half long altogether, 3 parts. And I call it Clean Eating and the Food Continuum. And so you can go and watch those videos, and those will help you to have a better idea, get us on the same page as far as the food thing goes. So what I do, just in a nutshell, is I identify what I call the food continuum. So from your worst to your best foods and everything in between. And like I said, it's an hour and a half long. So I really go into detail about the different categories. And I also talk about my 5 universal eating for health guidelines that I believe apply to everyone, everywhere. So no matter what you're doing with your diet and your lifestyle, the 5 eating for health guidelines you want to pay attention to. So you can go and look those up as well. I'm not going to go into any of that in detail because I want to get to some other things, into some questions. Hopefully we're going to have some people come on here. and find the link. So I'll have questions. And if not, we'll just wait till next time and see what happens. So let's see the food continuum. Yeah, from the best food to the worst food and everything in between. And then you can do the same thing with cleansing. So I see a lot of people, talking about cleansing, talking about fruit juice fasting, the master fast, the master cleanse, all these different things that people are doing. And once again, it's one of those things where it can be from the easiest cleanse to do to the hardest one, to full out water fasting or matter fasting. What am I saying? Dry fasting, water fasting, whatever it might be. So from the easiest thing to do to the most difficult and everything in between. And then within that, just like with foods, there's so many different choices, and it can be hard for people to know what's going to be right for them to do. And so those are the kinds of questions that I want to, be able to field in this forum as well. So a couple of things I wanted to bring your attention to. One is, okay, yeah, so if you go to the must see on the menu tab on my website, kellyhafer.com, there will be the 3 videos that I recommend that you watch those at the very least to get on the same page with what I'm talking about. And then I also listed some other things as well as a link to Mark Gordon's videos on detoxing, because he did such a good job. He has these really short videos. They're, the whiteboard animations, and they're really short, and they talk about the importance of fruit, which everyone has become so afraid of, and taking it out of their diet when it's actually the most superior food that you want to be adding more into your diet. And hang on one second, I got something going on in my eye. So I posted a link to his must-see videos for the people who are wanting to really start moving into the detoxing as well. And, even if you're not doing a full-out cellular regeneration detoxification, you still want to be starting to add in those fruits and those healthy foods. You want to do it on an empty stomach first thing in the morning for the fruit, to be sure. And it's gotten a bad name, and I really want to help to reverse that, because fruits are the superior food, I have come to believe, and they're really lacking in the American diet when they're at a time when they're most needed. So let's see what else I can tell you. Oh, I also have an ebook that you can download for free, and it is Natural Cures for the 10 Most Common Diseases, as I call them. And once again, you can find that on the website as well. Just go on the right side, on the right column. And in there, I have recommendations for the top 10 diseases. And so herbal remedies, essential oils, supplements, food recommendations, all of those for, what do I have in there? For arthritis, lung issues, bowel issues, whatever it might be. So that's a great resource for you guys as well. Okay, well, I'm seeing, so Marilyn says she can hear me loud and clear. All right, yay. And let's see, so is anybody out there? Is anybody out there with any questions? Let's see. Marilyn says, what was the turning point for you personally to change? What inspired you most? What sustained your hope? What was the turning point for me personally was I was literally sick as a dog and couldn't stay awake, or have any energy at all over the course of the day. And I was only in my early 20s, and I started having severe bowel issues, severe sleep. I had chronic fatigue. I had really bad candida. I had really bad parasites from having been in the Peace Corps in Morocco. And I also had a lot of liver issues. I was completely jaundiced. And I should do a video sometime about my story. So anyway, I learned the hard way. I was raised on the standard American diet. My mom didn't really know how to cook. She was raised with her mom doing all the cooking, so she never really did any cooking. So we grew up on, the real standard American diet, the cornflakes, the bologna, the Campbell's soup, whatever it was. And by the time I was in high school, I was basically having junk food all day, every day, and drinking lots of soda. And by the time I went in the Peace Corps, it was, the same thing. I just had such a horrible diet. And then when I was in the Peace Corps, what happened was they gave us just in what I call a criminal amount of antibiotics, which just completely destroyed my gut. And so when I got out of the Peace Corps and came back home, like I said, I had liver issues, I was jaundiced, I had taken these other really high doses of medicines for parasites as well, and it just all completely destroyed my gut. And so I learned the hard way the importance of food, and also of cleansing and not taking criminal amounts of antibiotics, which can really destroy your gut. So that was what was the turning point for me personally, when I really started learning about the impact of food. And probably the thing that most spoke to me at that time was when I started doing a basic elimination diet. And it was one of those things where I didn't, in those days, I mean, this was years ago, it wasn't like people were talking about elimination diets. And I was kind of, for the most part, just figuring it out for myself, what foods worked for me and what foods didn't work for me. What inspired me most? What inspired me most was feeling better. I got to the point where I couldn't eat anything I couldn't eat anything. I could eat rice and zucchini, and that was about it. And anything else would bother me. And I mean anything. I mean, even the whole fresh natural foods, because my body was just so broken down. So that's one of the things that is good for people to know. Sometimes you're adding in the fruits and vegetables that you've never had before because they're good for you. And what happens is your gut just is not used to them, and it can have a really hard time with them. So initially it can take some detective work to figure out what's going to work for you and what's not going to work for you. And which actually brings me to a basic elimination diet, which is where I really recommend people start. And a basic elimination diet is, in a nutshell, it's taking out all the common food allergens. So wheat, dairy, soy, corn, shellfish, tree nuts, and potatoes, tomatoes, the whatchamacallit, what do you call them? Nightshades. Yeah. Couldn't think of it for a minute there. So cutting out all of those foods, which are the most common food allergens, plus anything that you suspect that you might have a problem with. And then you add them back in, cut them out for at least 5 days, go on a completely clean diet with no common food allergens, no processed foods, and then add the foods back in one at a time and test for them. So that's what you do for a basic elimination diet. And also, I don't think I have it there yet, but I will put in the must-see tab on my website, I will put a link to my ebook, No Nonsense Nutrition. And that has a basic elimination diet outlined for you step by step, along with the testing instructions. So you can do it on your own. But if you're going to take the time to do it and do it right, you really want to get, the correct results. You really want to get a clear reading of what's going on in your body. I would suggest that you do the step-by-step instructions. So let's see, what inspired me most? Okay, yeah, I already said that one. What inspired me most was feeling better. There's nothing better. There's nothing more motivating and inspirational than when you start to feel better. And, it took a while, and I've had, health issues over the years that I've had to, really keep on top of, which is the case for a lot of people when their health is compromised at a young age. What sustains my hope? What sustains my hope? I would say it sustains my hope that more and more people are really getting the importance of food and how it affects their body. And it really gives me hope that more and more people are getting on board with this. And it's been easier and easier for me over the years to eat healthier, because everywhere I go now, there are healthier choices, when back in the day, there really wasn't. So for example, when I first started doing an elimination diet, or going off wheat and gluten, for example, it wasn't like I could go to the store and get gluten-free things. They didn't exist, and now they didn't even exist at the health food store. Very few things. We just weren't there yet. And I actually lived in Southern California, and I used to order by mail order. This was before the internet. I used to mail order gluten-free baked goods. And that was a healthier choice. So I'm not saying that's a healthy choice. I'm saying it was healthier than what I was eating. So I think back to that now, and it's kind of funny. So yeah, more and more you can just find everything at your local health food stores, but don't get caught up in all of that stuff that is, the gluten-free stuff, because a lot of it is just gluten-free junk food. It doesn't matter if it has gluten in it or not. So which is the same thing for a lot of the dairy alternatives. A lot of them are made from, the nut milks or soy milk, which I don't recommend. And they have a lot of additives in them. So you can make it yourself, which is a better choice, of course. Anything you can make at home that's not going to have the additives. Let's see. Okay. Any more questions? Oh, I did have a question that somebody emailed to me, and they said, they had a problem with Candida, and like 10 years ago they did a Candida diet, and now they've gone to do it, and they don't get the same results. So they said the first time they did it, they felt really good, and they really got the results, but now they're doing it again and they're not getting the same results, and they want to know why that is. So here's the thing. Candida is an overgrowth of yeast in your system. I would venture to say that the overwhelming majority of adults, well, even children too, really increasing number of children in the US today have Candida. It's just how it is with all the junk that we're eating, plus taking antibiotics at very young ages. Dr. Jeffrey McCombs, who's a chiropractor, he does a lot with the Candida diet. He has a whole protocol that he uses and everything. He says that it only takes one dose of antibiotics in your lifetime to give you Candida for the rest of your life. And so when you think about that, so many people I know and have worked with took antibiotics for years, literally for acne or different infections, bronchial infections, strep throat. That's what I was always taking it for, was strep throat and bronchial infections. So yeah, so many people are taking the antibiotics, especially at younger ages. The first time I was ever given antibiotics, I was an infant. Yeah, I wasn't even 1 year old yet. So, and that's very common as well as the vaccines. So all of that is going to weaken and compromise your system and destroy your internal gut flora or your microbiome, your biological terrain, whatever you want to call it. So oh, I know. So the Candida, that's why I lost track of what I was saying for a moment. So yeah, so the person wanted to know, why is it that I did the Candida diet 10 years ago or 5 years ago, whenever it was, and now I do it and it doesn't work? Well, it's not that it doesn't work. It's that now your body has accumulated even more Candida and even more problems. It's a weakened, congested system. Generally speaking, that's what's going on with pretty much everybody if you're having health issues. Is the bottom line is you have a weakened, congested system. So, and the answer or the solution to that is to clear and strengthen your system. So when it comes to Candida, the best analogy that I ever heard for Candida was, if you took a piece of cheese and you laid it out on the kitchen counter and you left it there for a few days, what would happen? It would turn all moldy, right? You'd get like this layer of mold across the top of it. So if you went in and you did a Candida cleanse by scraping off half of the cheese on the scraping off half of the mold on the piece of cheese, what would you have left? You'd still have mold. You didn't get all of it, which, there's a good chance when you're doing a Candida diet, you're not getting all of it. You still have an overgrowth. It's kind of hard to get rid of all of it just by doing one cleanse. It's usually something that you have to do over time and you have to repeat. But the other thing that would happen is if you left it sitting there, within a couple more days, you'd have even more mold. It would be completely covering the part that you just cleaned off. So the same thing happens in our bodies. Candida is something, it's like rabbits multiplying. It just proliferates very quickly, and you're feeding it. The things that feed it are the sugars, the grains. Unless they're soaked and fermented, then they can be, a little easier on your system. The antibiotics that knock out your gut flora, so then you don't have the good guys in there, the good bacteria, all of that. And so what can happen is you go to do that cleanse that you did 10 years ago, and now you're not getting the same results because you have an even bigger problem. And chances are you have even more symptoms that might have morphed into other symptoms. And you could have, and most likely you have, as I said, an even more weakened, congested system unless you've been eating a really clean diet and been doing regular cleansing. So, yeah. So it's not like, a Candida diet is a once in a lifetime thing or a once in a 10-year thing. And that brings me to clean eating as a lifestyle, clean eating and cleansing as a lifestyle. If you've had health issues, and especially if you've had any kind of serious health issues, you're going to want to be having a cleaning lifestyle as a regular way of eating, not just as a special, as a special event. So let me see. Marilyn says, yes, our personal stories are the best, most authentic. Thank you. You're welcome. And thank you for being here, Marilyn. It appears you're the only one here. There could be other people, but I can only see if people are chatting. And so does anyone else have any questions? I might make this really short today as kind of a trial run. I knew that there was a chance that I wasn't going to have people because there was a problem with the links, and I've never done this before. So I'm really sorry for the people that weren't able to get on, that wanted to get on the call. And I will definitely try to get this figured out for next week. And you can definitely email me your questions as well. Oh, and that was another question. I did have another question that somebody had emailed to me, and they wanted to know, they said, how can they get their stomach flat fast? They're going to, some resort, and they're going to be in a bathing suit, and they want to know how they can get their stomach flat fast. So anything that you're going to do, you want to do it the healthy way. And so the best thing I know of to get your belly flat fast is to go get a series of colonics. Hydrant colon therapy. Go to a professional if you can afford to do it and you have the time to do it. Go to a colon hydrotherapist and have them do a series of colonics. Go with what they recommend, but you can get an initial clear out, and you may need to do a few of them, but at least if you can do one or two, that's going to help bring your stomach down. And I'll tell you something. I had a really bloated stomach, and I was really sick for many, many years. And I had literally my stomach looked like I was pregnant. And that was even when I was eating healthy, and even when I was taking probiotics and enzymes and doing everything I was, supposed to be doing, I would still have this, this Buddha belly. I called it my Buddha belly. And I'll tell you, the thing that got my stomach flat really for the first and only time in my life is when I was doing all fruit. I was doing high raw and all fruit, which is, I believe, the superior diet, and something I'm wanting to get back to. I kind of been taking a little break from that. I've been eating some soaked grains and some buckwheat sweet potato pasta. So I've gone off track with that a little bit. I was doing it for a long time though, and I do have to say that when I was eating only fruit and doing a fruit cleanse, that my stomach was completely flat. So get some fruit in your diet. Yeah. And like I said, do it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Start with the low glycemic fruits like grapefruit. You can get acai or acai, however you say it. I'm never sure exactly how you're supposed to say it. You can get some of that, which is a really low carb fruit as well. You can get it in packets, smoothie packets in your smoothies. And that also is really good for helping to clean out your gut. And there are other different, in fact, actually, that's something that you could get too. There's an herbal cleanse formula made from acai, and then it has some other herbs in it as well. Cascara sagrada, I believe. I don't think it has senna, but it has some slippery elm. I can't remember. I don't have the bottle right now. But you can get it on Amazon, and it's called Acai Cleanse, ACAI with a little accent on it. Hopefully I'm saying that right. That is a really good product. You're supposed to do it for 14 days. You take 2 in the morning, 2 at night for 14 days. And that is another one that really helps to get your stomach flat if that's something that you're wanting to do. And I swear the acai helps get rid of candida and parasites as well. I think it's an overall general cleanser of your system. And the thing that's nice about that for people that are just getting started with fruit is that it is low glycemic and it's very cleansing to the system. So you could try that in a smoothie. That would be a great way. So, okay, well, I don't have anybody on here asking any more questions. And Marilyn, I want to thank you for being here and being my first guinea pig, and thank anybody else who's out there that's listening as well. And once again, I'm so sorry to the people that weren't able to make the call, and I'll try to get that figured out next week. But at the very least, as I said, if you oh, Marilyn says colonics are great, helped my vision instantly. Oh, interesting. Yeah, we'll get the word out to a lot more people before next week. Okay, great. Thank you for your help, Marilyn. Okay, so yeah, let's try it again next week, and have a great week till then. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now. I don't know how I turn this thing off. Oh, here we go. Okay, bye for now.